My name is Pastor Ed K. Jones, and today I want to share with you, if I may say it in this way, a walk of faith. And from a topical standpoint, it would be under the umbrella of my faith isn't always for me. My faith isn't always for me. There's a story that has caught my attention. Book of 2 Kings chapter 6. And I won't necessarily go all the way through it, but starting at verse 8 and on, it deals with when the king of Syria was having war with the king of Israel. These two men were having a battle and so forth. And in doing this, the king of Syria, each time he, if you will, went to attack, he could not find the king of Israel, if you will. He was not in the place where he thought he would be. And the question was asked by the king's servant, what is going on? Why is this man not where I need him to be, or where he should be, if you will? And it goes on to say that the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once nor twice in this case. And that's verse 10. And it goes on down to find out that what was happening was that the prophet Elisha was telling the king of Israel what was going to happen. So that when it did happen, the king of Syria was awestruck because he could not fulfill his purpose. And that goes on there. The story goes on from there. But that's a good part of the story. I like that part. But what catches me is as we go on into the storyline, and I'm going to come back to faith in just a moment, but as we go on in the storyline, we find that Elisha has a servant. And so the servant walks with Elijah. But always remember this. No matter who you are as a man or a woman of God, that person that follows you, they are not you. They should pick up things from you, but they are not you. So one, I want to encourage you as you walk this walk of faith, don't get angry with the people who are not where you are. Remember, where you are, it's been, say, 10 years. Where they are, it's only been 10 months. Always remember that. And as you walk this walk of faith, I want you also to remember this here. What happened here in this passage of scripture, again, 2 Kings chapter 6, what happened was that the king found out, the king of Syria found out what had been happening by Elisha. So he sent his men to go and encamp to find Elijah, to go and find him where he's at. And they told him where he was at. And notice what he said in verse 14. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host. And they came by night and compassed the city about. Before I go further, I want to share with you about night. The question would be asked, why did they come by night? Well, because one reason, darkness is blind. Blind in the sense that you don't see as clearly in the dark as you do in the day. They came by night, and this is now I'm dealing with the spiritual side of darkness. Because in darkness, the enemy strives to break your faith. In darkness, it looks like there's no escape in your situation when you're in dark places and in the dark time. Remember, they came at night. In darkness, they come to instill fear in you. Satan does, if you will. Situations do. In fear, they come in darkness. In darkness, they come to turn you. Again, why did they come at night? And on the spiritual side, I'm dealing with it from the spiritual side of things. Why would they come at night? They came at night, obviously, to be discreet, so they wouldn't be seen, if you will. But again, In darkness, it comes to break you. Darkness, darkness comes to break you. And then, this is what I like. The Bible says that the servant rose up and he saw a great host encamping about the city. Notice what he said in 15. When the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. Horses and chariots, strength, power. Horses and chariots represent that. They represent more, but just go from that standpoint. And they also will represent fear, depending on what side of the fence you're on. Horses and chariots will represent fear to you because of the strength that they carry and so forth. And then he says, and his servant said unto him, alas, my master, how shall we do? He said, alas, my master, how shall we do? One, the servant was no doubt afraid. Two, he did not know what was happening. Three, he did not know what to do but cry out for help to his leader, in this case, Elijah. I want to say this here, and this could be caught under the umbrella of faith, but I'm not directly dealing with faith to the servant yet, but you'll catch it. How I respond in a situation will determine where I stand in that moment in my relationship, aka toward the devil or toward God. How I respond. I'm not saying just because you didn't do it the right way the first time, that means you don't know God. No. But what I'm saying is, in some situations, you have to ask yourself, how you respond will determine where you are at. That is the way I look at that. How I respond will determine where I am toward God. And then notice what he said. My question to you today is this here. And this is where now my faith comes in at, my faith walk. How can I apply this event in my daily life? The king coming to encompass the city. The king looking for Elijah, but can't find him, if you will. Even though he think he had him, he really did not. In a sense, your faith must be like that. Even though it looks dead, even though it looks like it's done, even though it looks like the surrounding situation is going to compass me and take me out, when God says no, the answer is no. But remember this here. I have three things I want to share. And this connects with my walk daily. This should connect with your walk also. And I'm dealing with Elijah and the servant. And here comes my faith. One, always remember, even though you might be in or heading towards a place that God has called you, remember he knows where you are. Always remember, God knows where you're at. Your faith should come to a place to know that God set me here. I'm sound where I am. Remember that. That's one of my encouragements. My second one is this here. And I remember the city was compassed about. So there would have been fear with some people, but it wasn't fear with Elijah. Fear with his servant, but it wasn't fear with Elijah. So now I'm correlating how Elijah was the example to his servant. How you and I must be the example to those that see us knowingly and those that see us unknowingly. And what I mean is, sometimes we know people are connected with us, and sometimes we do not, but yet they're watching us. So keep that in mind. The second one, God did not put people, in this case, Elijah's servant, in your path, or someone in your path, because he could not find anyone. He put them there because he chose you to be the one. So will you be the one that will help push faith into someone else? Ultimately, God will do it through you, through them, if you will, but they themselves must catch it for themselves. But you will be the catalyst that God will use. Are you in a place that can help push someone to a place that they're not? How is your faith? Where is your faith? Be the reason, I like this here, be the reason that person that's connected with you, be the reason their life changes because they're with you. Will your faith pull someone else up, or will your faith become a question mark to them? That's a question. The third thing I see in this passage here, before I go to the third, I want to jump back real quick where he said Elijah himself. In verse 15, the servant was in fear. But verse 16, Elijah showed him where he was at, where Elijah himself was at, which also should be a push for somebody when they see you in a situation, how you respond will also be a determining factor how they respond. Verse 16 says, and he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. I like verse 17. That to me catches me all the time. And Elijah prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw and beheld the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elijah. My question to you tonight is, where are your horses and your chariots of fire? Are they surrounding you as you walk into a place? Or do you walk into the place where your knees hit and buckle? Where are your chariots of fire? So I'll go back to my third point. Keep that in mind. And I'm closing with these last couple of nuggets as I speak to you about my walk of faith. You can be the reason they do not see it, or you can be the reason they do see it. That is the faith. I pray you're the reason that they do see it and not the reason they don't. Will you be the reason that they see the chariots of fire supporting you, or only the enemy coming against you and you buckling and giving in? My walk will be an encouragement to you, no matter how drear the situation, or how high or how desperate it may look, or how bad it may look. Where will you stand when it's time to stand? I pray your faith becomes increased when you walk with him. My friends, and I say this last few nuggets. While you keep seeing, and I'm referring to the one that has the faith, let them keep looking. And while they're looking, let them see. Because they're looking for something that they don't know and understand yet. But you'll be the one that they can see it through. And that's why I strive now. I want to be an influencer of faith and not a destroyer of your faith. I want to be one of the reasons your faith is influenced to move forward by you watching me move forward. My friends, how do I manage my walk and the different daily events that I will encounter each day? That is my question to you. How do you manage it? I strive to manage it to believe God is who he is. God will do just what he said. And I encourage you tonight, as we begin this new year, I encourage you to take your faith to another level. When you look on the mountain, don't see the enemy so much as you see the chariots of fire that are in support of you. Because God can't be God when there's nothing hitting me or hurting me. He has to be God when there is something hurting you, when there's nothing hurting you, when it's cloudy days, dark days, sunshiny, whatever the case may be. I encourage you to walk by faith and not by sight. And be that servant if you're not already. And if you have to go by way of the servant, be the servant. But in the case of the servant, he was able to see the faith of Elijah, which helped push him to see because God opened his eyes. Will your eyes be open, or will they stay closed? Thank you very much.